Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of the Get Out. I'm joined as always by Mr. Matt Carlson. Matt, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm better than my bankroll. I've been getting
Huh.
killed the past couple weeks, so other than that, good.
Yeah, I said yesterday, Tommy, my buddy Tommy Massis, he always said like if you want to know how good a pro bettor is doing, just look at his fridge. I think for a recreational bettor like ourselves, like look at the type of alcohol they're drinking.
Cheers
Yeah,
to that.
you got. Yeah, but I was gonna post something with a bottle of Benchmark, which is like Buffalo Trace's like bottom of the barrel, like $15 a bottle type stuff. But um, even that, I have like it's not just regular Benchmark. I have like a Benchmark single barrel
Oh,
and the
okay.
Benchmark foolproof, right? So like it's not
Yeah,
even
you need
it's
that
not
extra.
and it needed extra proof, but it's not even that bad. Like I mean, my liquor cabinet is full. In fact, uh, the other day I was talking to my wife about something. She's like, "The house is full." She's like, "Stop buying stuff. The house is full." And I've been told by some friends that walking into our front room is like walking into a liquor store because we have those black wire racks filled with just barrel aged beer. I have two like small Amazon ones, and then my whiskey cart is just overflowing. And then we have a baker's rack that's got like the cocktail stuff, so tequilas, rums, gins, vodkas, all that stuff. So we're well stocked in the Rodriguez household. So uh,
We, I
you
have
know,
a very similar problem. I make the joke, and I think I've joked on here before that I have a lot of occasion beers, and I feel like I'm up to like 150 occasion beers. So my occasions need to get a little less discerning. Like days that end in Y maybe is a new occasion,
yeah.
but yeah. So
So in to touch on that, so we've been doing like board game nights, and now my friends are getting back into Magic the Gathering, so we play it's a format called Commander, which is like a 4-player casual type uh like format, right? And um we've been getting together probably about twice, once, like 2 to 3 times a month, depending on how everyone's schedules kind of lines up. And occasionally we go to a brewery. There's a brewery close to me, about 20 minutes away, that has a bunch of tables and stuff. And they've been cool with us just showing up with a couple board games and sitting there all night, ordering beers. They have pizza and food and stuff like that. So it works out. But um, like when we first started getting together, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna bring, I think that one beer I sent you, the cocktail Bourbon County, the one that's like it's supposed to be like a jungle bird or whatever. I
yep.
brought that over, and like my one friend's like, "Is it okay? Can we open this?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, why? I brought it so we could drink it, and like basically, it's funny because like I think about what at this point, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when we were like in like the boom, like the thought of just like every single weekend just being banger after banger after banger of beer, like is just like it's just ridiculous. But like now it's just, I have I haven't even cracked into last year's Bourbon County at all, because I'm still getting through a backlog of the stuff before. And like
Yeah.
I've kind of been of the mind now that basically, like, if it's my last one, like, I'll think about it. But nowadays, it's so infrequent that I only buy one. Like, even like of we go to the big events that Goose Island has every year when they release their beer, and I get an allocation. My wife gets an allocation, so like we might crack one of them, but the other one, like maybe we'll hold back. But um, yeah, between them and Revolution, I mean, their barrel age program just started back up for the year. They do a season ticket that I've bought the last 3 or 4 years. I want to say they started it in 2021, because, or maybe it was 2020. I don't remember, because all I remember is like when I first started doing it, like you couldn't go into the brewery to drink. Like you had to like it was like curbside pickup only. So I don't remember how late into the game they were to like fully reopening back up. Um, so it was 2020 or 2021 that they started that up, and I I just like we would just go down there and pick up beer, and but it's 1 4-pack of every single release that they have all year. Um, and you don't have to like, worry about it selling out or anything. Like they just set it aside for you, pick it up within a month of release. And then they throw some goodies in there. I got a nice I think it's a Tiku glass, right? So the little stemmed with the little like
Yep.
indent triangle, you kind of like one of my favorite type of glass. And it was funny because my wife, as soon as she's like, "Oh, that's a U glass," I'm like, "Yeah," I'm like excited about this.
I have a set around
But
here somewhere. I'm surprised I don't have one next to me right now, but yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So between that, like, and like you think about it, like it's a 4-pack, but I think it's 3 beers, it's about 8 4-packs total. I think across a year, it's like $300, right? Because those 4-packs, I think at this point are like, I think it's like 25 for the cheap ones, and like the rarer ones are like 40, $50. So, um, but then they give you, like I said, like tall boys of like some variants. They give you a special, like last year it was like a special. They gave you an additional 4-pack that was like um a vintage of one of them. They had like a secret vintage one. But what's like I said, what's cool is it's basically like they tell you it's basically like a $50 discount if you were to buy it all
Yeah.
individually. And like you just don't have to worry about it, right? So I like it, I do that. But that's just like another one of those things that just keeps piling up because now I'm like 3-4 years into this thing. And so yeah, so like you, like basically like every weekend I'm putting like 2 or 3 of these beers in the fridge, and I got to drink these things. Like I might as well drink them. Like there's no point in holding on to these things. Same thing, like I said, with my whiskey. Like I haven't bought whiskey since we went to Louisville for our anniversary in March. So about 5 months now, and I'm just like probably the last like month, I've probably killed like 3 or 4 bottles, but like literally I don't have room, so I'm just like picking bottles up off the floor. I'm like, you're now on the cart. Like they're getting promoted or something. But
What
yeah,
what
it's
gets me the worst that I think that I do is I buy like seasonal beer. So like, fine if you have like a nice, stout or a, whiskey or something like that. I'll buy like Christmas beers and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I got to get rid of this thing because it's 8 months old.
mm,
But unfortunately, it's like early August. It's like 85 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. You're sweating out and you're like, I don't think I really
yeah,
want to open a Christmas beer right now. But
yeah.
otherwise, it's just going to sit in your fridge till next Christmas. And,
I
that's not
I
great either.
have
So
the other day we opened up a barrel aged Christmas ale from Great Lakes, Bomber, and my wife loves Great Lakes Christmas ale. It's probably her favorite
I
beer.
do as well.
And
I used to take a lot of trips to Cleveland. That was a fine ale for sure. So
yeah, and so we got Christmas ale up the wazoo, man. Like going back like 5, 6, 7 years
just crank
probably.
up the air conditioning a little bit and celebrate.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it's incredible. Like, my buddy Dan, who's super into craft beer, we'll get together, and every time we get together, and I mean, like he's pulling out like vanilla, like original vanilla rye from Goose Island.
yeah, I
He's
got friends
pulling
like that
out
too. Just
original Bramble rye. And like we're just like we laugh because we're like, dude, could you imagine, 15 years ago or 10, 12 years ago or whatever, us being like, yeah, we're just gonna like whenever we get together, it's just gonna be whale, whale after whale after whale, like, or what used to be whales at least at this point.
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, he's like, it's nuts now. But you guys didn't come here to listen to us talk about beer, although we do talk
maybe
about
you did.
beer and alcohol. And I mean, it was probably better better than
The
our
content has been.
gambling's been going lately. But yeah, we got a late pick 3 to talk about here on Sunday at Del Mar. It's going to start with race 7, 5 furlong turf maiden for 3-year-old and up fillies and mares. California breds here. Your morning line favorite is the 2 Naturally Blonde at 5-2. You know, I reluctantly made this horse a B, but I think it's more of a. I'll hit the defensive B alarm here. I mean, this horse is fast enough to win, but I mean, this horse is 0 for 9. With 3 seconds. The speed figures look good. Hector Barrios stays aboard here. Um, so I had this horse as a B, but I don't know. I actually am much more interested in the 5 Fly at Night. Ricky Gonzalez aboard here for Mark Glatt, and yeah, it has one try on the turf that didn't really go that well, but I thought the Del Mar Dirt race at the end of 2024 looked pretty good. Horse obviously is coming off near year layoff at this point, but if you look at the work tab, you got 5 works that all look pretty good, going back to 36-3 work at San Luis Rey. You got a sub 48 work there, and then you got a near bullet work at going 59 flat, going 5 furlongs here. A couple weeks ago last week on August 17th. So yeah, I think that this horse is coming in here is going to show some speed, and maybe he's going to try and take him wire to wire. But if not, I thought maybe a horse like the 3 Mendelssohn's Angel, last time out, finished 3rd in that race that Naturally Blonde ran 2nd in again. But I like that this is a horse that passed other horses, right? Basically broke near the back of the pack, right? Broke 9th out of 11th in that race. And at least made up a length and a half on the group there. Passed some horses, probably learned some stuff in that start. So I like this horse coming back here, 2nd time out. Drayden Van Dyke stays aboard. And yeah, I thought this is probably a horse that can improve. And if this horse takes a step forward from that last race, I think it's going to be very dangerous in here. So I got the 3 Mendelssohn's Angel and the 5 Fly at Night as my 2 top picks. Maybe I'll use Naturally Blonde. I'm not really sure yet. But it's hard to take a short price on the 0 for 9 maiden in this race. So where did you land?
Yeah, I kind of defaulted to the 5 as well for a lot of the same reasons, right? I just, Glatt's pretty good off the layoff. It is a 4-year-old race. I think it's a lot of 3-year-olds in here. So there's something to like. And just the rest of this field to me doesn't have a whole heck of a lot to like otherwise, right? Same sort of thing you said. The works have been good, has shown speed in the past. Frankly, the other options in here are just a bit rough to try and take, right? Like you're either on, that 0 for 9 lifetime at Hector's up on the 2. You can get DVD on a horse that went off 40-1 and tripped out last time in the 7, I think. You got a couple Peter Miller horses in here, and Peter Miller's been absolutely ice cold. I think he's 0 for his last 21 in the past 2 weeks. So, I don't necessarily have a great opinion on the 5, but I have a lot of non-opinions on the rest of this race. So, yeah, I think I just kind of defaulted there, and that'll be my lone A, taking the horse that's shown speed, taking Glad off a layoff, taking a horse that has some decent works under his belt. So that's where I'll go mostly. I think the only other horse that I will go to in here and, reluctantly as a B is the 10 Need the Dough. And that's just because this field screams to me like maybe a new face can steal something in here. Same sort of thing, right? The works look pretty good. Aggie Ordonez I know nothing about this trainer, but has a couple wins, on the meet. Maybe. I have nothing else to go off of but a gate work and, a 33% trainer, it's on a very, very light sample. Take that as you will, right? All the other numbers on this horse don't look great. Okay, whatever. If you're going to take one in the field, maybe this one's it. So I'll use the 10 as a B, but I think I defaulted mostly to the 5 as my A in here, just thinking these are horses that don't look like they want to pass anybody all that well. So.
All right, race 8. We're going to be going 6 furlongs on the dirt, an allowance race here. And hey, you get the return of Hijazi at 8-5. Are you running to the window to bet Hijazi here?
I have a giant note on this horse that you cannot, absolutely will not bet Hijazi. You Not Hajazi is the biggest loser horse in the world. This horse loves finishing second. If you want to key this horse underneath in your exactas, go for it. Do not bet this horse to win. Even if it wins, there's no value on this horse. This horse would have to be about 8-1 or higher on the win line to get me to bet this horse. So no, I'm not running to the window to bet Hajazi. I have learned my lesson after Lord knows how many times betting this horse and watching him finish second. This horse is a lifetime loser, and I guarantee you he'll take money. People love Bob, people love JJ, people love lifetime losers. So that all said, maybe you're betting him. I have no idea. Someone's betting this horse because he always takes money, but I am not. I went 2 places in here. I went to Ghost of Midnight, the 6. Again, see above on Glad off the layoff. Actually, could be decent value in here, right? I mean, for a horse that is 5 for 5 when he's run on Lasix, and oh by the way, is run on Lasix here. It's 2 for 2 at Del Mar. I mean, I think this is just one you have to keep betting until he proves you wrong, right? Like the 2 seconds are in, stakes company that, he hasn't embarrassed himself in at all. He's finished second twice, but those are the efforts where he didn't get Lasix. So clearly this horse, runs well on the medication. Again, I don't think there's any reason to not bet this horse. And, again, if Hajazi takes money, I'll probably have a win bet on this horse as well. I think you have to take it until he proves that he can't win. So that'll be kind of my main A in here. The other A I'll go for is the 7 to Apollo. I think he had some excuses last out, first off the bench, kind of caught wide the whole way. Does fit in here, right? I mean, those back races before kind of that last effort do fit. I think you can toss. I think the fact that Hector gets back up is, a sign that's, positive. And look, Sadler's been really hot. I think he's like 7 for 13 in the past 2 weeks as well. So he's right up there with kind of Bob's numbers. I think between the two of them, not many other trainers are winning many races around here. So I'll be 6-7, and hope Hajazi goes off as short as possible in here and get some value out of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the 6. Was probably my top pick. I was a little surprised to see the morning line, so I kept this without morning lines. So I was a little surprised to see 3-1, as kind of the second choice in here. But yeah, I have basically the same note on Hajazi as you. Right, this is just a horse that loves to finish second, and I think I did back this horse in the Bing Crosby, and that was just like if he didn't win that race, like I mean, kind of had it his own way there on the inside, and yeah, that was a tough look to get boomed by. What was Lovesick Blues that day? Like 30-1, something like that.
I forget,
20-1,
but
yeah, 19-1. And yeah, because that was world record. Yeah, didn't ran kind of second in that race. But yeah, I thought that was maybe that was the time for Hajazi, but so I'll be off here. And if Hajazi wins, I don't really know if this thing's going to pay much anyways, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. I do have 2 other horses as A's. I do like the 2 Red Flag in this spot. This horse has been everywhere at this point. Is coming back in here. Now I believe this is a ship and win horse, because this horse is not run here in a year. No, maybe not, because he ran here in November. Never mind.
yeah,
But
I saw that too. I almost took that horse because of it, and I was like, oh nope, Josh pointed out last week this doesn't
yeah,
qualify. So
yeah. But what I like about this horse is this is a horse that has closed going 6 furlongs. And I have a feeling that there's a good chance that you're going to be wanting to come from off the pace in this race. So I thought the 2 was interesting. This is a horse that always passes up horses late. Has been running in stakes company. Has gotten some decent figures in some of those races, but has been everywhere. Oak Lawn, Churchill, Hawthorne, back to Churchill. And I mean, Irad got aboard last time, so there's got to be at least a little bit of talent there. Rispoli gets aboard here. He's much better on the turf, I think, than on the dirt, but he's still one of the better jocks here in the West Coast. So I like Red Flag in this spot. And then as kind of a little bit of a price, 15-1, the 11 Awesome Rhythm. And this is just a horse that's in good form right now, right? This is a horse that in the last 4 turf starts, granted 2 of them were off the turf runnings, Has got 3 wins in a second. Had the wet fast race. Uh, you don't get a lot of those in California, so not really, not really gonna, take too much away from the horse there. But came back in a claiming race on the dirt and went wire to wire, won that race. They tried the turf once again, and then they had the idea, hey, maybe we should keep this horse on the dirt, and has run 2 really nice races, including a race here at August 2nd at Del Mar, where he kind of tracked the pace from fourth and was able to close in and win. So, kind of staying at the same level here in an allowance race. Now, granted, it's much tougher company, I think, in general in this race. I mean, this is a borderline stakes race probably. So is going to be a tougher test, I think, for the 11. But you're getting 15-1 on a horse that just loves to win, a horse that has won here at Del Mar. I like the 11 Awesome Rhythm.
Yeah.
Anything else here?
No, I guess the only thing I'll point out, and I'll credit Nick Sievers for pointing this out and reminding me that, look, if you are going to take chalk, you can probably get away with slamming it a little better at Del Mar than you can at a place like Saratoga. For whatever reason, chalk seems to pay decently, quote unquote, at Del Mar and at the California tracks. Like, I don't know if it's just a little more public money, but you'll get some, at least above parlay value if you really like Hijazi for whatever reason. So if you are going to go through that and do single, maybe you do get some value if you really like that horse versus a place like Saratoga, where I would just say don't ever do that, right? Like, don't be singling tickets through Sovereignty and expect to get your money back.
No. Race 9, mile on the turf claiming race for 3-year-olds and up. And in this race, looks like your morning line favorite is going to be the 9 Margot's Boy. I didn't use that horse. I also didn't use the second choice, the 11 Castle Leoch there. I landed on kind of two mid prices, I guess, on here. This number 7, Don't Swear Dave, is probably my top pick in this race. This is the horse coming back off a win at Del Mar. Kind of got a little bit of a fast pace and was able to kind of close in and win by a nose on this race. Got a nice 108 time form figure for that effort. I just think that this is a horse that is proven, going those 2 turns, likes to run here at Del Mar, and I think is going to be able to, take his one run and kind of close in here. The time form pace projectors got him sitting kind of like in that third grouping of horses. That's the kind of trip I generally like at Del Mar, kind of that tracking trip here. So I really like the 7, Don't Swear Dave. And the number 6 is another horse that, likes to close. Has closed at Santa Anita, which I think is a little bit more difficult to do than here at Del Mar. What I like about this horse is Hector Berrios gets aboard here, and he's generally the best turf jock going over in in California. So the fact that Hector gets aboard here makes me think that this horse is probably live. Does have a race. His last win at the claiming ranks, does fit in here with, I think, the rest of this group. So I do like this horse here coming back, with Hector getting aboard. And that's all I'm going to use here. I'm going to use the 6 Mega Yacht. I'm going to use the 7 Don't Swear Dave. And I'm going to try and be skinny here and get through on a thin ticket. Where did you land?
Yeah, I guess I did use the 6 as a B in here, just basically for the same exact reason you did, right? I thought if anyone was going to be able to work a trip from way back at Del Mar, it's Hector, right? Compared to Mike Smith. Granted, I do think he may set up to be just too far back in here, right? I mean, Del Mar does kind of have the short stretch, and if he's sitting in last, coming around the last corner, Hector's going to have some real magic, like along the rail or something to get this horse home. But again, I think just when you think turf routes, if you have a horse with any ability, that's kind of Hector's bread and butter here. I think he's just better than most, if not everybody, in doing that, even compared to like jockeys like Umberto and Juan. So I'll use that horse, but I do think just pure setup wise, it's a little bit of a question mark for me. I went to other places that I think are both mid prices. I didn't use the favorites in here either. I like the 8 Hurricane Cloud. I do think this race kind of sets up to fall apart a little bit just because you have a lot of horses that kind of seem to want to get the lead and then just can't finish kind of going the full mile, at least when you have a semi decent pace on. So, look, I thought the last out effort was pretty good. I thought it was kind of impressive to close from, 10 lengths back, like at first call. Clearly that horse like rushed up. And normally when you see horses do that, they kind of have an excuse to just kind of fade out the back, right? Like into a hot pace. If you see a horse kind of make it up 6 lengths early like that, that's not really the ideal trip. Especially when you have, the Demuro riding Mirko. Uh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of a tough trip that day. Lost a lot of ground. I think gave up, something like 20 plus feet on that field. So, had a bit of excuse that day. And so I think you get some value here if it could work any better trip. Granted, I do think if you're going to have to pass a lot of horses, maybe you do get kind of a, ground losing trip if you're going to try and swing ride and make that one run. But at least there's some excuse and at least, there's some rationale to say, okay, this horse can run a little bit better than he showed last time with the ground loss and, the jockey change to Kimura, et cetera. So, and clearly Frankel is built to go at least 2 turns, if not more. So, all that said, I think, the price on this was intriguing. And I think some of the back races just do fit. So I kind of like the 8 in here. I like the 12 as well. And, look, I know I said that Miller is ice cold and not to bet him, but this horse just screams like a horse that they've been sprinting, and if he gets in, I think you should use this, right? Clearly, Juan is like the go-to jock for Peter Miller, so if he stays up, that's where you want to go. I think, Zoffany as a sire has, I think, 4 wins sprinting, and 2 of them are on this horse. And oh, by the way, at least one of
Mm.
them is on the Sanity to downhill, which I don't even think qualifies as a sprint per se. Like, it's just there's no reason that they should have been running this horse 5 furlongs to me. And so I do think you kind of end up with that angle where, okay, you're at least getting the horse back to what he wants to do. And if you get 10 to 1 on that, I mean, by all means to me, like send with both hands, right? Um, you know, Especially if this horse does wheel back in a week, right? Like this horse, I think ran last Sunday. So you'd be running him twice in a row. Again, that probably lends itself to a lot of question marks if this horse actually gets into this race and runs. But when Miller does run on that week layoff, I think he's like 4 for 12 over the past couple of years. Like, so he's 33%. He's got a very positive ROI doing that as well. So, again, see if he draws in. If he draws in, I think that's one that I think you have to use in here, especially if he stays around that morning line, because that's incredibly intriguing to me. So I'll be 8-12 if the 12 draws in, and then I'll use the 6, as a B, maybe as an A if the 12 doesn't draw in and scratches out.
Cool. And then where did you go for your bonus race?
I went to race 1. I don't love it, but see. So I against better judgment, I'm betting Kyle Frey in here. Look, I mean, and I'm not going out on too big a limb to give you the second choice in here. I do think Westwood just takes a ton of money though. So I think, I saw the morning lines later after this and I was like, yeah, 8-5, 2-1 is something. But I do think the fact that horse ran in, Santa Anita Derby and is running Stakes Company, that horse probably goes closer to even money to me, and you probably get a little bit higher than 2-1. Maybe you get 3-1 on Kyle Frey. Look, first out, that horse was running against a Baffert horse that did come back to win a second race as well in Privman. Privman came back to win a pretty nice allowance race. I think at even money ran pretty handily in there. So, hey, look, this horse had every excuse to kind of shut down. Obviously, it was almost 3 lengths behind Privman winning, but that horse won an allowance race by the same exact, fractions in there. And this horse has a right to improve, kind of coming off that effort. It did move forward, kind of immensely right after that, once you saw it going 2 turns. So I think this horse just has enough talent in here to have even Kyle Frey get him home at a, second choice price, quote unquote. But yeah, so that's where I'll be going as my best bet is first race in the 2 penalty box.
Yeah, we had the same idea because that's also who I was going to talk about. But I actually was going to talk about it, and when I saw the morning line and I looked at race 2, I actually, your morning line favorite is going to be Sweet Azteca at 2-5, and I am going to try and beat this horse. This is a horse that's got a really big figure at Los Al, and then the rest of the figures kind of, I'm not saying that they're bad, but they just kind of come down to earth a little bit more, right? I mean, that low Sal fig was a 6 point top. So we think that we're going to be closer in the 115 to 118 range. And the way that the track kind of can play, especially sprinting, I'm gonna say maybe we get 2 wire-to-wire winners in the first 2 races. So we do a little double out of race 1, the 2 penalty box, and we're gonna try beat the 5 with the 3. So second choice is second choice double, right? Look at this. Look at me eating chalk here, but I love horses like this, right? Breaks her maiden, sorry. Pretty handily by 4 lengths. Comes back in the allowance race, absolutely blows the doors off in that allowance race. It's coming back here against a kind of a proven stakes horse here in Sweet Azteca, but I think the sky's the limit for a horse like Formula Rosa. So I got a 2-3 double. It's kind of going to be my play here, race 1 into race 2. See if we get a little bit of value off that 2-1 borderline on that 2 in that first race.
Yeah, it all feels a lot better when you hit something early. Let me tell you. So
it does.
You don't want to need those races. We've needed those races the past couple of weeks, so it's not a great feeling.
I don't know if there's ever like a better feeling than like, all right, like you maybe you didn't play for a couple days or something. You log into the ADW Saturday morning, right? You hit that weekend deposit, and that thing just explodes within the or at least grows a little bit after the first couple of races of the day.
We'll take
so
numbers after the first couple of races. We don't need explodes. So.
We'll take at this point, dude. I'll take anything. I'm like, it's been something, man. But yeah, what's the countdown on Shatin now?
I think a couple more weeks. What do we got? We got September 7th is when it comes back. So we'll be doing what this week, next week, no, and then the week after that, after Labor Day. So we got one more podcast, and then we're back to Shatin.
We're back to our bread and butter. So thank goodness. That's going to do it for us here on the Get Out. Obviously, check us out at ontheronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. Check out drf.com. They have their chat bot, chat.drf.com. You can ask it all kinds of questions. And mess around with it, play around with it. It's still in beta. And thank you to DRF for providing us with data for this. So for Matt, I'm Josh. Have a good weekend, guys. Let's make some money.